situation, they would have told you, look, it does not matter how well you think about it, that our constitution provides that this nation, we have a constitutional foundation for insisting on Muslim-Christian ticket or Christian-Muslim ticket. There is a constitutional foundation and basis for it. The constitution provides that Nigeria shall be a secular state. The framers of the constitution were not idiotic when they made that provision. So any person that is choosing Christian or Muslim has already ab initio infringed on the clear provisions of the constitution. So it is a violation of the constitution for somebody to come out to say, we will give you Muslim ticket, Christian ticket. If peradventure something had happened, like we call an accident, let's say starting out in the executive, Muslim, the judiciary, now something happens and the person whose turn it is to be naturally the most senior justice of the Supreme Court, that happens to be also a Muslim, it becomes like an accident. It's wrong for them. It's a constitutional violation to start out on this footing.
Okay, all right. Before we take our break, let's just take this final one on Tinibu'S so that as we come back, we switch over to the ASU issue with the federal government. Tinibu'S said Obasanjo and Atiku fought publicly because it was a Christian-Muslim ticket. And so that Christian or Muslim should have no basis in Nigeria but good governance. And so that is why his choice is for a person that will help him govern the country. Comrade.
I think if you were saying that Obasanjo and Atiku face-off was not the first time we are having that kind of thing. This is between the Christian president and then a Muslim vice. You understand? We also saw that pan out between Babangida and Ebutu Ukiwe. We also saw what actually happened and how it also even between Abacha and Oladipo Dia. But I have this to say: the only time Nigeria has ever enjoyed a robust presidency where the vice president was allowed to assume full responsibility of the vice president was when we had Muslim, Christian president and vice, and then that was in the Second Republic, 1979-1983, under Shehu Shagari and the Fanny Alex Ekweme. You cannot deny that. You understand? That in fact nobody has ever come out to deny that was the only time we had a working vice president who controlled the economy of the nation. Ask yourself what is happening today between Christian and Muslim presidency we are having now. What is happening today? Hasn't there been a time when we are seeing Osibanjo being cut to size just because of the choices he made when Buhari was not on seat? So he also should have emphasized on the face-off that actually transpired between Osibanjo and the Buhari camp in the FCT, to the extent that Osibanjo's staff we are laid off, and some were told no to work from the FCT again. So we don't have to these very things away. I feel, to me, and I have said it, if I were Tinibu, I wouldn't be making much emphasis or much attempt at trying to. Yes, you have made the choice. You have to stand with it. It is your choice. Let that choice also give you what you actually expected. So why are we being concerned about all the back and forth following the choice he made? He deliberately made it.
Let me join you quickly and put this poser. Recall the infamous and horrible incident whereby Tinibu and Shetima went to recruit fake clergymen. If Tinibu didn't feel that the place and opinion of Christians mattered, why did he have to make the effort, how be it fraudulent, by procuring non-Christian people to come and masquerade.
Some of them came out to say they are not fake. So many of them.
Yeah, some of them came out to say
they are not fake.
Yeah,
one was nearly lynched at Jadi Market, or the plumber. Another one a carpenter. Another one had his stole on his neck and was busy smoking. But of course they were fake. You and I know. So if he didn't think that religion had a part to play, why then did he consider it important to seek endorsement from people perceived to be Christians? And when he wasn't able to get real Christians to do so, Christian leaders, he now had to get all these actors.
Well, our wonderful viewers, that without pause, we are going to take a break. Remember, when we come back, issues of the moment will continue. And keep watching Living TV. Don't go away. I'll be glad to see you as we are back. The Nigerian government has said it will not uphold, that he will uphold its commitment to the no work, no pay policy. And he said in dealing with the Academic Staff Union of Universities that the number of months wasted in the name of strike has nothing to do with the government. And this will serve as a lesson to intending future strikes. Council.
Yes. I have two different views on this matter, me as a person, two. I know it sounds somehow. On the one hand, I am minded to agree with the government that the resort to incessant strikes should be discouraged. Anything to discourage it. Anything lawful and anything proper. I have to qualify it. Anything lawful and proper to be done to discourage the easy resort to strike, because it has become like a tradition, like a ritual in Nigeria. You cannot, as a student, enter for a 4-year program and without failing any course, come out in 4 years. It is not possible. So, yes, anything lawful and proper, any step lawful and proper to be taken that would make strike unattractive, I would naturally say let's go for it. But at the same time also, we have to look at why these lecturers easily resort to this strike. They don't just, I don't think they resort to strike just for the sake of resorting to strike. I also want to believe that in line with the labor laws, necessary notices and warnings are given and issued before they resort to strike action. And yet, those whose duty it is to take steps to nip it in the bud and prevent it would ignore it until when the thing is initiated, and then everybody will start running helter-skelter. So you can see why I have a dual view or opinion on it. You cannot sweep away or under the carpet the lawful yearnings and complaints of those that embark on strike, namely ASU. Before they do, something leads to it. So one way to bring lasting solution to strike action is to ensure that those things which push people to go to strike, that you address it. Finally, take a stand on it and implement it. If you reach an agreement with us, by all means, let the government, which is a continuum, take steps to abide by the terms of the agreement. It would be unfair for government, which is a continuum, to come in and say that, well, we didn't enter into the agreement. It was the other administration that entered. Meanwhile, beneficial agreements entered into by the other administration, you are taking benefit of them, reaping the benefits and everything. But when it comes to obligation on your part, you will refuse to do so. So that is not proper.
Okay, comrade.
Yeah.
Shortly before this half payment, as claimed by the ASU,
Yeah.
remember they had a meeting, and that was what led to calling off the strike, even suspending the appeal they were about, when they were now compelled to go back to obey the court order first. I'm sure the agreement they reached with the Speaker of the House, the Federal House, Matabia Mila, led to their calling of the strike.
Yes.
And like the ASU president would say, they had relaxed and believed that he was speaking on behalf of the government, only for them to be paid, half of this.
Yes, sir.
And what do you think will become of our Nigerian universities? Because with what is happening now, I'm sure between now and next week, we are going to hear from the ASU.
Yes. I was making that analysis somewhere else. I was asking myself the question, which I want us to reflect on now. The most important thing is to know what type of educational sector the current administration is wishing to leave or bequeath the next one. So if we have a system where there are inconclusive negotiations and then arrangements and talks, it will be very hard on the next government. Mind you, then the coming government will not be working with any budget except the one made by President Muhammadu Buhari. It's going to be a kind of arm twist. It's also going to undermine them to an extent. They may not begin on the right footing with ASU. But it's unfortunate. I just love some of the things comrades said. You see, each time ASU wants to embark on a strike, notices are served. ASU is not just any other person, it's just a union. From the particular, from head, it begins to do what? Trickle down to the list of the universities. It is a horrible one, a very regrettable thing that the government we have, not just about this government, the successive government and the past and present we have, we are seeing, is that they don't listen, they don't engage us until there is strike. So ASU feel that there is no other option that can bring these people to the table to have conversation except strike. That's why sometimes you see strike happen instantly. And I will say here that one of the worst challenges we faced during our MSc program was that 2 weeks to defense strike happened. And that means you are going to pay another tuition. You understand? For those who are doing MSc, there is a calendar to follow. If you extend, if you stay beyond that period, you pay another tuition. And some of us paid through our nose. And it was very, very horrible. You see, the most important thing is that, unfortunately for ASU, it was actually bullied the way it is now. And now we are hearing about mobilization. We are hearing about protest marches in some parts of the country. But the most important thing to ask is that the way going forward for our education sector? That's where I have a problem. Mind you, the current administration, and see, I want to say this. No, I love President Muhammadu Buhari as far as he's the president of this country. Because if he fails, it's not to my credit. It's not. It does nobody good that he should fail in delivering the mandate. I say this everywhere, but it is a shameful thing that this conversation with ASU. You see, some of the things you are seeing, whether you're talking about IPPIS, UTAS, whether you're talking about half payment, whether you're talking about pro rata, whether you're talking about committees, these were not part of the conversation. These are the things President Muhammadu Buhari and his presidency inserted into this conversation. So that is also mismanagement of what? Industrial relations between the lecturers and the government, their employer. And I want to say this. This conversation was just about what? Revitalization of universities, bring out money, equip universities. Let's have libraries, let's have hostels, let's have modern classrooms. Get a capital project, just renovate universities. But due to the fact that the president felt, and it's a very shameful thing, the president felt, and his minister of education and that of labor, they felt that bringing out 200 billion naira to give to ASU every year could actually be burdensome. When we know that sometimes over 100 billion naira is given to the National Assembly of 360 members, and then other non-parliamentarian staff. So the thing there is that the president and his ministers, they have no emphasis, they have no place for education. Why would the wife of the president be bold enough to share pictures of their own family member, yes, who at the time when ASU was on strike? So it tells you, it shows you where the bread is butter. And doing this, if they have their children in the Nigerian universities, I do not know why they will see. I have said it before. Let us also accept that it is also good not to pay these ones 8 months, because council established it the other day. I also said yes, this is the provision. No work, no pay. It's a provision. You understand? Let us also don't even try to remember that there is a provision for strike also when the working condition of workers or laborers are not met or are not satisfactory. So remember that one of the things they are asking for is what? Allowances. And allowances. I'm saying and allowances. But now see, let us also waive away all these ones. What stops the federal government from paying them for that very month they work? Since they are periodic workers, they are not daily workers. You don't have to count their days. They are periodic workers. You pay them by month. Let us forget about the 8 months that they didn't work. Why not pay them? That, to me, that's just to worsen the whole thing and to make it even worse for the next administration.
Okay, Council. Before this decision was taken, in fact, it was taken at the floor of the Federal Executive meeting that was presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari before the announcement by the Minister of Education, Adamu. And the ASU had said that the government, the federal government, is only trying to make the lecturers casual workers.
Well, The federal government is suddenly now flexing muscles because somehow it has gotten a court order. And with this court order, it now feels that legitimate terms of a settlement earlier on agreed upon between agents of, for God's sake, who would tell us that the Speaker of the National Assembly, that's the House of Representatives, is not a government official? He's a member of the APC. Who would tell us that he does not count? He's the number 4 man in the country in terms of administration. And then he has held out himself as representing this government and being able to speak on their behalf. And an agreement has been reached. Because you now have a court order, you now say, what he has agreed with you people no longer counts. I'm not surprised. And since I'm not surprised, there is also a precedent. While the APC and its candidates were campaigning, they made all kinds of bogus promises. Free food and all whatnot. 5,000 naira monthly to everybody that is not employed. Upon winning the election, our Oga chief driver suddenly realized that I didn't make that promise. It was my party that made the promise. So it's akin to what Chinua Achebe also wrote about in his book. You know, the brave warrior who wouldn't allow his machete or cutlass to be used to shear dog meat for children because dog meat was taboo to him. But he volunteered to use his teeth to shear the dog meat. It's really very, very sad. That is what we are witnessing today. They have a court order and they believe that it's either you obey the court order, you are continuing obeying it while we rub your nose in the mud, or in a bid to resist our rubbing your nose in the mud, we quickly brandish the court order, you are guilty of contempt of court, and then ASU will now start fighting its own fight with the judiciary, while the executive will now go to one side and be smiling. That is the dilemma that has been created now.
All right. You know, one of the major reasons, comrade, why they went back on strike was the hope given to them by Madam Biamila, the Speaker of the Federal House. And then, do we assume, because of what has played out, do we assume that it was a mere conspiracy to drag these people back to the various
That is
classes?
what it appears to be. So that assumption is already
It's been borne out by events.
To me, yes, that's
you wouldn't be wrong.
That very assumption has been cemented. Because you look at it very, very, very well, it appears that the government used the instrumentality of power, you understand, to intimidate or bully these ones, and at the same time continued with its policy of trying to stampede or trying to run them aground. And mind you, I have said it here countless times, and I'll say it again. The government, in disobeying, or in not even, in fact, the government also disobeyed itself. You understand? And it shows you where the issue of principle is with this government of APC. You see, this is a government that said, go to your place, prepare your positions or your grounds, bring to us, let us meet you somewhere. ASU went and met the government. They said, we will not be doing it this way, we will not be doing it that way. They are agreed. Memorandum of understanding was reached. They now said we are going to be acting on this memorandum of understanding. They now reached MOA, memorandum of action. So why hasn't there been that action? So it tells you that the federal government ad initio was not even willing to honor its own words. And I can begin to tell you this. So for this very issue, we've had like 3 committees set up to renegotiate the same thing. First was the Jubril committee, Professor Jubril led committee. We had Professor mini-bricks led committee. Later, the Minister of Education announced that there was going to be a committee to be peopled by pro-chancellors, chancellors, and what have you. It was up to 2 weeks. We heard of the court ruling. You understand? Now, the implication is that, see, let me tell you something. The federal government can only do what it wants to do. Even if
we're raising these committees to buy time.
They were raising these committees to buy time. You understand? If you ask me, because the report of the committee, none has been implemented. All the reports, which one has been implemented? Not none. So you see.
And this is a government that has a penchant for selective obedience to court order.
You see, the ones that favor them, they will obey. We were even the other day talking about releasing him and the Kano. Did they obey that court order until they got another court order that favors them? Now, see, I want to say something. You see, you may end up not paying government ASU members. Whether you talk about private, the people who are going to suffer it are the so-called commoners, citizens, because these lecturers will not go there to teach them being mobilized. The same way a Nigerian soldier cannot fight fully mobilized, if not well funded and if not well paid. It's the same thing. See, I will tell you, see, I have people in the university and I'm a friend of the university system. Do you know that currently now the morale of these lecturers are down as we speak? I have people.
Comrade,
yeah.
Whose morale will not be down on half salary?
That is the thing.
On an empty stomach.
After 8 months, you gave them half salary. You see, was it part of the agreement? I am yet to see where it is written in our industrial laws. In our industrial laws, or what you call Trade Disputes Act, there is no provision for pro rata payments.
Okay, Council, I want to ask you, if they are saying, let us critically look at this issue. If they are saying no work, no pay, the first question should have been, what led to this strike?
No work, yes.
This no work. Before now, there was an agreement. And that agreement, because of its lack in implementation, that was what led to the strike. And then they were there. And even before they went on this strike, like you rightly said, they issued a memo.
So there was 2 weeks, 1 month,
If they gave warning strike.
Yes, a warning strike of 1 week.
So why will it be no work, no pay?
Well, ordinarily, you do not expect an employer to pay for work not done. I mean, it's commonsensical, okay? You don't expect an employer to start with wages for a time that has not been earned. That is the standard procedure. However, if a laborer, an employer has engaged the services of a laborer, and the laborer makes himself available to work, and then there are materials needed by that laborer with which to work, supposed to be provided by the employer, and through no fault of the employee, that's the laborer, those materials are not forthcoming, and the laborer is still around, are you going to tell him, because you did not work, I will not pay you? If you had allowed him to be elsewhere, he would have gained work elsewhere and worked and earned his pay. But you have tied him down. So you are also paying for his time, you are also paying for his skill. The same thing runs for the lecturers. Now the lecturers have a curriculum that runs irrespective of the time to prepare students to attain a particular level of skill. Okay? Now, if through no fault of theirs, the time within which the students attain that level of skill is extended, you will pay them for that time until the children attain that skill. So you pay them for attainment of that skill, that level, whether it is for 2 months or 5 years. If it takes them 5 years, you're going to pay them until the children attain. It's like what you call let's use our everyday laborers balance, task job. I want you to, maybe for a bricklayer, to lay 150 blocks. If it takes him 2 hours, you will pay.
You pay him for the day.
For the task. It takes so long, you will pay for the task. That is what it takes. So when you try to witch hunt and victimize the lecturers, some of us are not happy by it. I believe all of us here, even in the studio, the support staff, are all graduates. We are the product of these lecturers.
Yes.
So when we begin to sit back, because we have graduated, and we sit back and say, deal with the lecturers, because we think we're out of the university system. If you don't go back to do your postgraduate, your children will go to school one day. So I am not happy when the lecturers are not treated well. At the same time, I also want the lecturers to be considerate and take into good consideration the welfare and well-being of our children. There has to, we must ensure that we strike this balance.
All right, before we go for the day, the Deputy Minority Leader of the House of Representatives, Tobi Okechukwu, has stated that it will be very difficult for Nigeria to have good roads across Nigeria, across the entire country, until the President, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, retired, has sent to the Road Fund and Road Authority bills passed by the National Assembly. And that since then, he has not signed it into law, and the thing is before his term. And so nobody will be talking about good roads. That's the last we're going to take for the day.
Is he a member of the APC?
The Okechukwu, the Tobi.
Yeah, which?
He's a minority, he's not a member of the APC.
Okay.
So I'm talking to you, you're talking about the...
I would want to disagree with him. Yes. We are having bad roads not just because of General Muhammadu Buhari. Bad roads had been there before he came on board. Even in US, they have bad roads. I can tell you categorically because I have been there and I have seen. But what is important is that they have fashioned out a way over time of handling the issue of bad roads. And they have decentralized some of these things. When you tend to concentrate everything in one place, an entity like Nigeria, you want road maintenance, road construction to be handled by just one entity all over the nation. I mean, it's not going to work out well. That's why they even came down to establishing things like the FEMA, the Federal Road Maintenance Agency, so as to decentralize. If I don't know the exact details of that act or that bill that has now been passed, when it is now assented to, it will become an act. Why the minority leader would make such sweeping statement. But the point being made is that before Buhari came, in fairness to Buhari, we had bad roads.
Okay, comrade, for the honorable member to have said this, don't you think if Mr. President is assented to this bill, that it will improve, maybe help improve our road network?
Yes, the first thing is to understand the provisions of the bill. You understand? To understand what the bill is saying. That's the most important thing. Whether the bill is mandating government to do roads or saying these are the sources you have to draw from. And this is a particular amount of the budget you are going to allocate to road or other infrastructure, critical infrastructure. But the basis of government, in fact, one of the yardsticks of government is to do build infrastructure, protect lives and property of citizens. You understand? But I do not think that because the president didn't sign onto that bill or didn't work with that bill will actually undermine his availability to do projects, including roads. You see, the essence of having budgets and then capital projects is to build infrastructure, which also includes road. And then, to the best of my knowledge, building road and then this infrastructure is not in the 68-item exclusive list. It's in the concurrent list. The state can build road, the federal can build road. Even the local government can also build roads. So I don't know why they are saying that Nigeria will not build roads, because the president did not sign on to the law until I know the detail of the bill itself. Okay. But actually, that's said again. I think the roads we are having, in all fairness, Buhari did not begin this. The other day, former President yes, he made a release where he talked about the East-West road. I wouldn't know how to feel, because this is a particular road of concern that actually crossed across through his own part of the country. The majority of the project Buhari is still grappling with today were what PDP repeated. Let's be fair. Whether I'm talking about East-West road, whether I'm talking about Lagos Express road, whether I'm talking about Abuja Kaduna road, whether I'm talking about Enugu Port Harcourt road, all these are roads. But it's unfortunate. Yes, but then it's unfortunate that we are still here talking about this, and that Tinibu'S is also promising us road, and Obi is also promising us to
Tinibu promised to continue the legacy of abandonment of roads.
So all these candidates are talking about roads.
He said he will continue the legacy.
Yes, the legacy Buhari is giving us is abandonment of roads in certain parts of the country, like the southeast. So since Buhari has abandoned them,
we even have the development commission.
Continue the legacy by also abandoning.
We even have
the legacy by making sure the roads are.
We even have
that what now?
No, Buhari hasn't worked on the roads.
So
if you have
the Tinibu Expressway,
yes,
they had started and stopped somewhere.
And they stopped somewhere, and never since they stopped.
Abandonment means you would be on it and you would leave it.
You will leave it. Every other year, the same item appears in the budget.
And nobody will take any budget performance evaluation to know to what extent the previous budget was implemented, and why it didn't continue. You bring it back and you tell us you are spending 80 million to buy cutlery for the State House. Whether you use a golden cutlery every year, it features again in the budget.
By December of 2018, Governor Rochas Okonacha came out to enlighten or to alert Nigerians that the budget of 2018 has not been implemented by half. As of December 2018, when the president was actually articulating the budget of 2019, you have not implemented half of this budget. You are going to the budget. You understand what I'm saying? So, that's why we don't even have a budget. I'm trying to say this. If we have a budget, we will be able to capture all these things happening to us. Now listen, inflation today is 21%. The assumption of budget of 2023 is 17%. How realizable is that?
Yes, that's a question for those of you out there and those of you who are in government. I'm sure you're listening. And this is where we're going to draw the content for today. From my far left is Barrister Chukwemeka Umago. Barrister Chukwemeka Umago, thank you for being part of this program.
Thank you, moderator, and bye, viewers.
And Comrade Nnamdi Legwachi, thank you for being part of the program.
Thank you for having me. And then
remember
goodbye, our viewers.
Yeah, remember tomorrow we'll be having Nigeria Today. And Nigeria Today will also be coming to you. It's a current affairs program, topical and trending issues in Nigeria as it affects our country and our various states. And I'm sure you'll be there. Keep watching Living TV. And this is your moderator, Chinedum Adiele, signing off for now.